Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. I want to talk about making money. Now, you keep on hearing these reports that there are more millionaires today than ever. More millionaires being created on a daily basis. The whole goal of all of this is to get you more and more sold on the system that we've got, which does not focus on actual wealth creation. It's not wealth. Most of it is debt. If you make $1 million a year and your debt on your home is $500,000, $600,000, how much actual wealth do you have? Of course, some people are going to talk about equity, but that's a fraction of your debt. I've talked before about how much the dollar is actually worth compared to, a century ago. The dollar is worth 3 cents, 5 cents. So, if the dollar is worth 5 cents and you make $1 million a year, how much you actually worth? It's really not that much. The number, people keep focusing on the numbers, not what those numbers represent. They also don't focus on the fact that while more millionaires are being created, look at what the wealthiest people, like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, what has happened to their wealth? Well, their wealth hasn't gone down, so that wealth has not migrated by any stretch of the imagination. So where is all of this coming from? How are you creating millionaires and people on their way to being, trillionaires all at the same time? It's not coming from other countries, So, anyway, to the main point here. People talk about making money continuously. It's always making money. The real fact is nobody makes money except central banks. In the case of the U.S., that would be the Federal Reserve, which is a private corporation and not a federal agency at all. When the Federal Reserve makes money, it is fiat currency. It is created from thin air, fantasy phantom numbers which literally do not exist unless the Fed says they exist. Yet those numbers have very real consequences in very real lives. Even when talking of fantasy numbers, it is the law of all existence that to create something, you must destroy something else. You create a vacuum which will be filled in some way. You build a house. You have to have stone and wood and copper. So you're causing, you've got strip mining and cutting down forests and all this kind of thing. Now, I am making the distinction between making money and earning wages in return for actual labor here. When people talk about making money, what they refer to as getting the highest return for the lowest effort, if any effort at all. They expect to invest money and get more money in return. The fallacy in this mindset is that they do not consider in real terms where that money comes from. When you do consider those real terms, what is being discussed is institutionally sanctioned and endorsed theft. or to use a more politically correct and sterile term, wealth redistribution. It all means the same thing and has the same result. When the Fed creates money, what they mean is that they create debt. It is wealth stolen from future generations, our own children, for the hoarded wealth of the current generation. Future stolen from current generations of children in other countries. Debt creation, wealth distribution, theft, all creates only the vacuum I mentioned. For now and many previous generations, that vacuum creates hungry stomachs, broken dreams, poor education, children in cages, slaughtered civilians, mass incarceration, cold homes, evictions, loss of not just civil rights but human rights, loss of freedom, prejudice, depression, anxiety, anger, suicides, unreasoning anger, subservience, loneliness, isolation, division, lack of communication, apathy, desensitization, cruelty, death, physical illness, bombs, bullets, intentionally closed minds, and a destroyed environment. As a short list, these are things we are told define wealth, safety, strength, prosperity, progress. It is our own indoctrination, our own apathy, our own willing lack of awareness, which we must shatter. Our delusions, rather than we must destroy our own illusions. Rather than destroy all around us in the pursuit of making money. As a global community, it is mandatory that we completely redefine our belief, our view, our definition of what is considered wealth. The innumerable vacuums which have been created have been yearning, begging, screaming, demanding to be filled. Those pleas, those demands will no longer be ignored, suppressed, or smothered. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. JFK said that. The people who have suffered, that are suffering, that will continue to suffer in this country, globally, did not declare the literal class warfare which has been waging and which is gathering strength. It was declared and inflicted upon us long before our births. However, the hunger has become too painful, the yearnings too intense. Try and deflect it, ignore it, blame other countries, invalidate it, attack it all you like. This will not be silenced, muted, placated any further. There can be no denying that the time is here for change by any means. But yeah, you go ahead and talk about making money. Make no mistake, the younger generation is absolutely rejecting what is being touted as wealth. They are rejecting the consumerist mindset on many levels. My daughter right now is ready to graduate from high school. She wants a good education, and yet she is intensely aware of student debt. She is vying for and has received offers for several scholarships, which I'm very happy for, and they're very good offers. Not all students, only a fraction of students actually get these scholarships. Of course, those scholarships represent debt in themselves because that money has to come from somewhere. When we talk about scholarships, we look at the recipient. We never look at where the money's coming from. You pay for those scholarships. So you're paying for education. It just doesn't go very far. So, she's already looking at what this is going to cost, how much she's going to have to work during college, which takes away from her studies. And college is a full-time job. She has no desire for a credit card or debt. So she is rejecting all of this. Look at all the young people that are, not buying cars. They're carpooling. They're taking public transportation as a choice. They're the young people, for the most part, are really not buying homes, basically because they're unable to. It's not that they don't want to. They want that permanence. That's what they really want, is permanence, stability. But they don't see any stability because they don't see any wealth coming their direction. We have to really examine what is being considered wealth. Going back to homes. You got all these equity investors, landlords, and property management companies, etc., that are buying up homes at record numbers, driving up. That is what is driving up the cost of homes right now. And what are they intending to do with that? Well, they're going to incur debt on other people. They consider it wealth when in fact it creates further and further debt. Although I'm going to say debt servicing, consumer debt servicing, is at its lowest point in 40 years. That's by Bloomberg, I think. But why is that? That's because people in the past year have been paying off and cutting up their credit cards. They're not incurring as much debt as they were. Of course, on the other side, you got people that are having to rely on debt. The number of home refinances is at its highest point ever in the past year. So people have given up more of their equity in the homes that they do own, just as home prices are skyrocketing, which means that if their income does not recover, they are going to be further and further underwater, more and more in debt. This is a repeat of the 2008-2009 crash. This is exactly what happened then to homeowners. And here we are again, only on a much, much larger scale. Where is the wealth in that? We hear that unemployment is declining, the numbers are getting smaller, but What's not being examined enough is, what do those new jobs pay? And the pay is the same or lower. As I said last year, the pay is the same or lower than it was before the pandemic. In most cases, it is lower. Gas prices are increasing, but oil producers are restricting production. They are forcing the price to go up. There are fewer oil producers than there were last year, and the producers that exist are restricting production. We are expecting $4 an hour gas by this summer. So that is virtually a 100% increase in the price of gas, which translates downward. I'm going to do a separate video on that subject. Anyway, when you see a 100% increase in, commodities, when you look at that $1 million dollar income level, what is it really worth when it's costing you twice as much to live? That automatically cuts your 1 million down to 500,000, and then the value of the dollar in general being 3 to 5% what it once was. Cut that, it's like you've really got nothing. I mean, your net value compared to a century ago is about maybe $1,000 at best. And that's before you even factor in the debt that you may owe. When you take $500,000 on your house out of an effective $1,000 net value, what are you left with? And until we change this system, it's going to continue this way. We have to stop focusing on these numbers and stop talking about making money, because we don't make money. We're just consumers again. So start thinking about this. Share this video. Talk about these subjects. Talk about them far and wide. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel. And I will catch you in the next one.